The monitoring station floated quietly in the dark space between stars. Inside, alien beings worked at glowing screens, listening for signals from across the galaxy. It was boring work most days. Space was big and empty, and most signals were just noise from dying stars or broken machines. But today was different. Communications. Officer Zilak had 8 long arms that moved like snakes over his control panel. The species, the Velmari, were known for their excellent hearing. They could pick up sounds that other aliens missed. One of his arms stopped moving. His large black eyes focused on a screen showing strange patterns. "What is that?" he whispered to himself. The signal was weak but steady. It came from the outer edge of the galaxy where no known civilizations lived. Most aliens stayed close to the center, where it was safe and warm. The outer rim was cold, dangerous, and empty. Zilak called his boss over. "Council member Thexara, you need to see this." Thexara was tall and thin like a crystal tree. Her species, the Mortani, had clear skin that sparkled when they thought. Hard. She walked over on her 4 legs and looked at the screen with her diamond-shaped eyes. "Play it again," she said. The signal repeated beep, beep, beep. Then numbers, then more beeps. It was simple but clear. Someone was trying to talk. "Long has this been going on?" Thexara asked. 3 weeks, Zilak said. "It started weak, but it's getting stronger. Whoever is sending this is trying very hard to reach us." Thexara's skin sparkled brighter. This was exciting and scary. In all their history, the Galactic Council had never found a new species trying to contact them. Usually they found new species by accident, and those species were afraid and tried to hide. "Do you understand what they're saying?" she asked. Zilak worked on his computer for hours. The signal had patterns, mathematical sequences that showed intelligence. Basic physics equations that any smart species would know. And then finally, words. The translation came through slowly. SOS colony ship Endeavour, 847 souls aboard. Life support failing, coordinates attached. Thexara felt cold. An SOS was a distress call. Someone was dying out there in the dark. 847 beings were in trouble, and they were asking for help from anyone who could hear them. "What species are they?" she asked. Zilak replied, "The database has no record of them. They call themselves humans." The news spread quickly through the monitoring station. Soon, everyone was talking about the mysterious signal from the unknown species. Some aliens were excited. Others were worried. Dr. Veltana, the station's expert on alien life, studied the signal patterns carefully. She was a Quexani, a species. That looked like large blue insects with many eyes. Each eye could see different types of light, which made her very good at spotting details others missed. "Look at this," she said, calling others over to her station. "These humans have been changing their signal every few days. They started with simple beeps, then added mathematics, then physics, then language. They're learning how to talk to us while they're dying." "That's impossible," said Security Chief Gorth. He was a Kavan, a species that looked like walking rocks. They were known for being practical and suspicious of new things. No species learns that fast under stress. "They must be trying to trick us." "Trick us into what?" Dr. Veltana asked. "Helping them? They're 800 light years away from our nearest ship. If this is a trap, it's a very bad one." The argument continued for hours. Some aliens thought they should help immediately. Others wanted to study the signal more. Few thought they should ignore it completely. Finally, Thexara made a decision. He sent this to the full Galactic Council. Let them decide. The message traveled through space to the Council's main headquarters. There, representatives from 50 different alien species gathered to discuss what to do about the humans. The council chamber was huge, with seats designed for many different body types. Some aliens breathed air, others breathed methane. Stood on legs, others floated. Some were small as house cats, others were big as elephants. But they all had one thing in common. They had never heard a distress call like this before. "The signal is still broadcasting," reported the council's head scientist. "These humans have been calling for help for almost a month now. Our ship is dying, but they haven't given up." Defense Minister Korth, a large alien covered in armor plates, stood up. We know nothing about these beings. First contact with a new species takes months of careful planning. We cannot just rush out to help every voice that calls from the dark. But Dr. Veltana had different ideas. Minister, look at their signal again. They're not just calling for help. They're trying to learn, to communicate, to reach us. Most dying species just scream, these humans are thinking. The debate went on for hours. Finally, the council voted. By just 3 votes. They decided to send a rescue mission to investigate these mysterious humans, Captain. Mordic of the rescue ship Harmony received his orders with mixed feelings. He was excited to possibly meet a new species, but worried about what they might find in the dark space of the Outer Rim as his ship prepared to leave. The human signal continued to broadcast across the galaxy. Somewhere out there, 847 beings were waiting for an answer to their call for help. Captain Mordic's rescue ship jumped out of hyperspace near the coordinates the humans had sent. What he saw made his 4 eyes widen with surprise. The human ship was massive. It stretched almost 2 kilometers long, bigger than most space stations. But it was clearly dying. Parts of the hull were cracked and bent. Emergency lights blinked red and yellow across its surface like a slow heartbeat. Pieces of metal and ice floated around it in a cloud of debris. By the void, whispered his pilot, Kexara. Was that thing still holding together? Mordic studied the readings on his screen. Ship's power was failing. Its air recycling systems were working at only 30%. The hull had dozens of holes that had been patched with whatever materials the crew could find. Scanner officer. Nixal, what do you see inside? He asked. Nixal was a Sylvani, a species with large heads full of sensors instead of regular eyes. She could see through solid walls and detect life signs from great distances. Her voice was always calm and quiet. Captain, I detect 831 life forms. They've lost 16 since they sent the distress call. Her head tilting as she focused her sensors. But Captain, something is strange. What do you mean? Most of them are gathered in large groups. They're not running around in panic. They single quotes, read ... organized. Mordic had rescued many ships in his career. Usually when a vessel was dying, the crew would be screaming, fighting over supplies, or hiding in corners waiting to die. But the scanner showed the humans moving in patterns, working together, gathering in what looked like meetings. Maybe they're all sick, suggested Medical Officer Zephos. Brain damage from lack of oxygen could make them act strangely. Only one way to find out, Mordic said. Prepare the docking tube. We're going aboard. The rescue ship slowly moved closer. To the human vessel, Mordic's crew was nervous. They had never met humans before, and the ship looked dangerous and alien. When the docking tube connected, Mordic expected to hear screaming or crying from the other side. Instead, he heard voices talking calmly in what sounded like music. The airlock opened, and a human male stepped forward. He was shorter than Mordic, with dark hair and tired eyes. But he was clean. His clothes were neat, and he smiled when he saw the aliens. Welcome aboard the Endeavor, the human said. Tejo, current shift coordinator. Thank you for coming. We've been hoping someone would hear our call. Mordic was confused. This human was acting like he was greeting guests at a party, not being rescued from a dying ship. You're not afraid? Mordic asked. Course. We're afraid, Kim Tejo replied. But fear doesn't fix broken machines or save lives. Please, let me show you around so you can help us better. As they walked through the ship, Mordic saw things that made no sense. In one room, human children sat in a circle while an adult told them stories. They were laughing and asking questions. In another room, adults were singing together while they worked on fixing broken equipment. This is Park Mina, our chief engineer, Kim Tejo said, introducing a woman with grease on her hands and a bright smile. She's kept us alive for 18 months. 18 months. Mordic repeated, You've been like this for 18 months. Since our main engine failed, Park Mina said. We've been improvising ever since. Would you like to see what we've done? She led them to the engine room, which looked nothing like the original design. Pipes and wires ran everywhere. Pieces of furniture had been taken apart, and rebuilt into new machines. The walls were covered with drawings and notes in human writing. "We've turned the swimming pool into a water recycling plant," Park Mina explained. "The gymnasium is now a food-growing area. The theater is where we hold our council meetings to decide what to do next." "Council meetings?" asked Mordic. "Every week we all gather to discuss problems and vote on solutions," Kim Tae-ho said. "Everyone gets a voice. Even the children can speak if they have ideas." The Mordic species, the Kethmori, had strict leaders who made all decisions. The idea of letting everyone vote seemed chaos. They visited the medical bay, where Dr. Choi Hana was treating a patient. She had somehow turned a storage closet into a surgery room using lights from the ship's theater and tools from the machine. "Shop, we've lost people," she said sadly. "But we've also saved many who should have died. When you don't have proper equipment, you learn to be creative." In the ship's main corridor, they met Lee Sungmin, who was teaching a group of teenagers about star navigation using a broken computer screen and hand-drawn charts. "We want the young ones to learn," he explained. "Even if we don't make it to our new home, maybe they will understand the universe better." What amazed Mordic most was the atmosphere. Despite being trapped in a dying ship for over a year, the humans seemed ... happy. Not the fake happiness of people trying to be brave, but real contentment. They joked with each other, helped without being asked, and treated the alien visitors like old friends. "How do you do it?" Mordic finally asked Kim Tae-ho. "How do you stay like this when you're dying?" Kim Tae-ho thought for a moment. "We're not dying, Captain. We're living. Every day we're alive is a day we can help each other, learn something new, or make someone smile. When you focus on living instead of dying, everything changes." As the rescue operation began, Mordic realized that his crew had come to save the humans. But maybe, just maybe, the humans were going to save them too. The evacuation was going smoothly when xenopsychologist Nexara asked to interview some of the humans. She was a Zethkaya, a species that studied how different aliens thought and behaved. Her people were known for their logical minds and their ability to understand others. But these humans confused her completely. She sat across from Engineer Park Mina in a small room on the rescue ship. Mina looked tired but calm, sipping a cup of something the humans called tea. "Tell me about the hibernation cycles," Nexara said, reading from her notes. "My sensors show you've been putting people to sleep to save oxygen." "That's right," Mina nodded. "When we realized our air recycling couldn't support everyone awake at the same time, we started taking turns sleeping in the medical pods." "But how did you choose who sleeps and who stays awake?" "We drew lots," Mina said simply, "fair and random. Everyone took their turn." Nexara's blue skin darkened with confusion. In her species, the smartest and strongest always got priority. "But surely your leaders, your scientists, your most important people stayed awake." Mina looked puzzled. "Important. We're all important." Kim Tae-ho spent 2 months in hibernation, just like everyone else. So did Dr. Choi Hana. So did I. "That makes no sense," Nexara said. "What if the ship had an emergency while your best people were sleeping, and the people who were awake would handle it?" Mina replied. "We trained everyone to do basic repairs and medical care. No one person is more valuable than another." Nexara wrote this down, but she didn't understand. Her people had genetic rankings that determined who lived and who died in emergencies. The concept of treating all lives equally seemed wasteful and illogical. Later, she interviewed Dr. Choi Hana in the medical bay. The human doctor was checking on patients while explaining how she had performed surgeries with makeshift tools. "This patient needed heart surgery," Dr. Choi said, pointing to a sleeping human male. "I didn't have proper equipment, so I used a kitchen knife sterilized with ship's alcohol, flighting from the theater and thread from the textile workshop." "You could have killed him," Nexara observed. "Yes. But doing nothing would have definitely killed him, so we tried." Dr. Choi smiled. "He's alive, so it worked." Nexara examined the medical records. Dr. Choi had attempted dozens of impossible procedures with homemade equipment. Some patients died, but many more lived who should have died. "Why take such risks?" Nexara asked. "Because every life is worth The risk, Dr. Choi said. Even if I only save one person out of 10, that's still one person going home to their family. That afternoon, Nexara observed teacher Lee Seung-min conducting a class for children in what used to be the ship's restaurant. The kids sat on cushions made from torn clothing using broken tablet screens to practice mathematics. We're learning about orbital mechanics today, Lee Seung-min announced. Who can tell me why planets don't fall into their suns? A little girl raised her hand. Because they're moving sideways fast enough. Excellent, Jiwoo, Lee Seung-min praised. Now, who wants to calculate the orbital speed of our destination planet? All the children raised their hands eagerly. Nexara was amazed. These children had been trapped on a dying ship for 18 months, but they were excited about learning advanced mathematics. Why do you still teach them? She asked Lee Seung-min during a break. They might not survive to use this knowledge. Lee Seung-min looked sad for a moment. They might not. But they might also be the first humans to set foot on a new world. If that happens, I want them to understand the universe they're inheriting. But surely survival skills would be more practical. We teach those too, Lee Seung-min said. But humans need more than just survival. We need hope, knowledge, dreams. Take those away, and we're not really living anyway. That evening, Nexara attended what the humans called a community meeting. The entire ship's population gathered in the main cargo bay. Sitting on the floor in a huge circle, Kim Tae-ho stood in the center. Tonight we need to decide about food. Rationing for next week. The rescue ships have enough for everyone, but we should discuss how to distribute it fairly. An elderly woman raised her hand. I think the children should get extra portions. They're still growing. A young man disagreed. Everyone should get equal shares. That's always been our way. The debate continued for an hour. Everyone who wanted to speak got a chance. They listened to each other respectfully, even when they disagreed. Finally, they voted, and the decision was made by majority rule. Nexara had never seen anything like it. In most species, leaders made decisions, and everyone else obeyed. But these humans let everyone participate in choices that affected their survival. After the meeting, she found Kim Tae-ho cleaning up your system. Seems inefficient, she told him. Wouldn't it be faster if you just decided everything yourself? Probably, Kim Tae-ho admitted. Faster isn't always better. When people help make decisions, they're more likely to support them. Sometimes the best ideas come from unexpected places. But what if they make the wrong choice? Kim Tae-ho smiled. Then we live with it together, and we learn from it together. That's what families do. As Nexara prepared her report for the council, she struggled to find words for what she had witnessed. These humans had faced impossible odds and survived not by becoming harder or more ruthless, but by becoming more human. They had maintained their compassion, their curiosity, their hope, and their care for each other. Most species became less civilized under pressure. These humans had somehow become more civilized. She didn't know how to explain that to her people. But she knew the galaxy would never be the same after meeting humanity. Everything was going well with the rescue until the solar flare hit. Captain Mordick was in his command center when the alarms started screaming. The ship's main screen showed a massive wave of radiation rushing toward them from the nearby star. All ships, emergency positions, Mordick shouted into his communicator. Solar flare incoming? The radiation hit like an invisible hammer. Lights flickered throughout the rescue fleet. Computer systems crashed and restarted. On the human ship Endeavor, the remaining life support systems sparked and died. Chief Engineer Voxel ran to Mordick with terrible news. Captain, the flare damaged our power systems. All ships are running on emergency power only. How long will it last? Mordick asked. Maybe 6 days if we're careful. But Captain, Voxel looked scared. With the human ship completely dead now, we have to support everyone on our ships. We don't have enough air and power for all of us, Mordick felt cold. The mathematics were simple and horrible. They'd rescued 500 humans so far, with over 300 still on the Endeavor, but now their rescue ships could only support about 600 beings total for the journey back to Council space. How many? Mordick asked quietly. We have to choose 400 people to live, Voxel said. The rest ... will die. The news spread quickly through both the rescue fleet and the human ship. Soon, representatives from all the alien species were gathered in the main conference room, along with the human leaders. Defense Minister Korth, the rock-like Kavan, spoke first. This is unfortunate, but the solution is obvious. Use the standard survival protocols, which are, asked Kim Tae-ho. We rank everyone by their genetic value, their skills, and their age, Korth explained. The healthiest, smartest, and most useful people survive. The old, the sick, and the less intelligent stay behind. The other alien species nodded in agreement. This was how civilized beings handled survival situations. Medical Officer Zephos, tall green alien with 6 arms, pulled out his scanner. I can quickly identify the humans with the best genetics. We can also test their intelligence levels and physical fitness. No, Kim Tae-ho said quietly. What do you mean no? Asked Korth. We don't choose who lives based on their value to us, Kim Tae-ho said. Everyone has the same right to live. The aliens looked at each other in confusion. Engineer Park Mina stepped forward with a tablet in her hands. While you're talking about who deserves to die, I'm calculating ways to save everyone, she said. I think we can link all the ship's life support systems together. It might work. The probability is less than 12%, calculated the ship's computer. Then we have a 12% chance to save everyone instead of a 0% chance. Park Mina replied. Dr. Choi Hana was studying medical data on her own tablet. I can put most people into deep hibernation. It's dangerous, but it would reduce our oxygen needs by 60%. Too risky, said Medical Officer Zephos. Many would die from the hibernation process itself. Some might die, Dr. Choi agreed. But if we do nothing, we know exactly who will die. This way, everyone has a chance. Captain Mordick tried to be reasonable, humans. Please understand. We want to save everyone, but physics doesn't care about our feelings. Some of your people must stay behind, and we'll draw lots, said Kim Tae-ho. Everyone's name goes in. Fair and random. That's insane, shouted Korth. You would let your best scientists die while saving people who contribute nothing? Our scientists are no more important than our janitors, said teacher Lee Sungmin. They're all human. They all matter. The argument continued for hours. The aliens couldn't understand why the humans wouldn't just accept logical selection. The humans couldn't understand why the aliens thought some lives were worth more than others. Finally, Dr. Choi Hana stood up. I volunteer to stay behind, she announced. Someone needs to monitor the systems manually to keep the ships connected. I'll do it. Hana, no, Kim Tae-ho protested. It's logical, she said calmly. I'm the most qualified to handle the life. Support integration. If the hibernation procedures fail, people will need a doctor here. Within minutes, dozens of other humans were volunteering to stay behind. Engineers, teachers, parents, teenagers, not because they wanted to die, but because they wouldn't let others die alone. This is madness, whispered Nexara to Captain Mordick. They're volunteering to sacrifice themselves for people they barely know, not just for humans, Mordick realized. They're willing to die for us too. It's for aliens they met 3 days ago. 8. The alien crew members watched in stunned silence as the humans prepared for their impossible plan. Park Mina worked frantically to connect the ship's systems. Dr. Choi? Hannah prepared hibernation protocols that had never been tested on this scale. Other humans organized supplies and comforted the frightened children. None of them complained. None of them demanded special treatment. None of them tried to save themselves at the expense of others. In my species, Captain Mordick said quietly to Kim Tae-ho, the strong survive and the weak die. It's natural selection. Our species, Kim Tae-ho replied. The strong help the weak survive. We call it civilization. The deadline approached, and the systems came online. Every alien in the fleet realized they were witnessing something they had never seen before. They were watching a species choose to risk everything rather than abandon anyone. The humans weren't just trying to survive, or trying to remain human while they did it. The impossible plan worked. Engineer Park Mina had connected all. The ship's life support systems with cables and pipes that shouldn't have fit together, Dr. Choi. Hana had put over 700 people into hibernation using equipment designed for 50. Teacher Lee Sung-min had organized the remaining awake crew into shifts that maximized efficiency while minimizing resource use. Everyone lived, Captain. Mordek stared at his control panel in disbelief. The readings showed stable life support across all ships. The hibernation pods were functioning perfectly. The jury-rigged connections between vessels were holding strong. How? He whispered to himself. But the real change wasn't in the machines. It was happening in the hearts and minds of every alien who had witnessed what the humans had done. Medical Officer Zephos found himself checking on human patients with the same care he gave to his own species. He had always treated aliens as secondary priorities. But watching Dr. Choi Henna risk her life for everyone had changed something inside him. Defense Minister Korth, who had demanded genetic selection for survival, now questioned everything he had believed about strength and weakness. These humans had proven that cooperation could be more powerful than competition. Xenopsychologist Exara worked day and night on her report to the Council. She had to explain how a species could become stronger by refusing to abandon their weakest members. Her own people would struggle to understand this concept as the ships traveled back to Council space. News of the rescue spread across the galaxy's communication networks. The story grew with each telling, but the core truth remained the same. The humans had saved everyone by refusing to let anyone die. On the hegemony homeworld, Grand Admiral Thekmos read the reports with his crystalline eyes glowing bright with confusion. They drew lots to decide who would sleep. He asked his aide. Even their leaders participated. Yes, sir. Their coordinator Kim Tae-ho spent 2 months in hibernation, just like everyone else. Impossible. Leaders must stay awake to make decisions. Sir, according to the reports, they trained everyone to make basic decisions. He said no one person was more important than another. Grand Admiral Thekmos had ruled through fear and genetic superiority his entire life. The idea that beings could lead through cooperation instead of domination was revolutionary. On the collective worlds, the news caused heated debates in their great thinking chambers. The collective had always believed that individual lives were less important than the group's survival. But the humans had saved the group by valuing each individual. They refused to calculate the worth of their people, reported Collective Node. Prime. They treated a child the same as a scientist, a janitor the same as a leader. This is inefficient, declared Collective Node 7. Resources should go to the most productive members. But they survived, Node Prime pointed out. All of them. Our efficiency calculations said it was impossible, but they did it anyway. The debates continued for days. Some collective members began to wonder if their cold logic was missing something important. On Kavan, the warrior species was deeply troubled by the reports. Defense Minister Korth had sent messages describing humans who volunteered to die for strangers. This went against everything the Kavan believed about strength and survival, weakness, declared War Chief Brathke. They are weak and sentimental. They will not survive long in the galaxy. But younger Kavan warriors disagreed. They survived 18 months in a dying ship, pointed out Junior Commander Vexel. They saved everyone when we would have left. Have to die. Maybe we need to reconsider what strength really means. The argument spread across Kavan society, creating divisions that had never existed before. Meanwhile, on the rescue ships, the alien crew members were having their own transformations. They worked alongside humans during the long journey home, learning about cooperation, sharing resources, and making decisions together. Engineer Voxel found himself asking humans for advice on technical problems. Your species thinks differently. He told Park Mina, you see solutions where we see only problems. Maybe it's because we don't give up as easily, she replied. When you believe everyone matters, you try harder to save them all. The journey took 3 weeks. By the time they reached Council space, the alien crew members had changed. They were more willing to help each other, more likely to share resources, and less concerned with rank and status. When the ships arrived at the Great Council station, thousands of beings from dozens of species waited to meet the humans. They came not as conquerors greeting new subjects, but as students hoping to learn from teachers. The council chamber had been prepared for a formal first contact ceremony. Representatives from 50 species sat in their assigned seats, ready to offer humanity junior membership in the galactic community. But when Kim Tae-ho entered the chamber, he didn't bow or show fear like most new species did. He simply smiled and said hello. Thank you for saving us. How can we help you? The question surprised everyone. New species usually ask what they could gain from joining the council. Kim Tae-ho was asking what they could give. We would like to offer humanity membership in the Galactic Council, announced Council Speaker Mexara, but not as junior members. We would like you to serve as moral advisors, to help us remember what we may have forgotten about civilization. Kim Tae-ho looked around at the assembled aliens. We're honored, but we're just human. We do what anyone should do. We take care of each other. That, said Council Speaker Mexara, is exactly what the galaxy needs to remember. The ceremony ended with something unprecedented in Council history. Instead of the humans swearing loyalty to the Council members pledged to learn from humanity's example in the days that followed. The story of the rescue spread to every corner of the galaxy. Some species embraced the human philosophy of cooperation and equality. Others rejected it as weakness, but the galaxy had been changed forever. The humans had shown that true strength came not from dominating others, but from lifting them up. They had proven that civilization wasn't about survival of the fittest, but about making sure everyone could survive together. The SOS signal had been answered. But in saving themselves, the humans had awakened something in the galaxy that had been sleeping for too long, the understanding that every life had value and that together they were all stronger.